males in the Iraqi police force.
They killed 2 of my uncles because they worked for the police. ISIS killed anyone from the police.
Did you spend a lot of time with your uncles? Were you really close with them?
Yes, they loved me. They used to bring me toys. My father and I used to play hide and seek with them.
Were you scared that maybe your father might be hurt too?
Yes, I am worried about my father and brothers. Almost all of my uncles were police, so my father was afraid.
It's a familiar fear. As we spoke, 12-year-old Mahmoud was clearly distressed, but wanted very much to talk.
ISIS was in Mosul for about 2.5 years. When they came to the city, we thought they were good and they wouldn't hurt us. But they began to kill and torture people. That's why we hated them.
Anyone you know was hurt?
I didn't see and I didn't want to see. It was horrible and scary.
He says he loved math and reading before ISIS came, and still wants to be an engineer.
I'm comfortable now that I'm back to learning and studying. I can study now, which is good. I'm relieved.
Do you feel safe here?
Yes, here I feel safe. There are people protecting us, guarding us. But we still live in a tent and it rains a lot. It's really affecting us.
He echoes a fear we heard again and again from the mothers in the camps. The terror of ISIS replaced by an unknown future in a tent at the beginning of a cold, wet winter. 20-year-old Hijran's husband Fatih was an officer in the Iraqi police. When ISIS took Mosul, 7 men came to their door for him.
They executed my husband because he was a policeman working for the Iraqi government and he wouldn't give up his weapons and surrender. They killed all the policemen because they said they were non-believers. They finally gave us the body a month after he died, but they wouldn't allow us to have a proper funeral.
Suddenly a widow with 2 children, no money and no job, she was devastated, but too afraid to speak out. If she ventured outside the house without strict Islamic clothing, ISIS would torture her male relatives. Hijran and her children are here with her older sister Hiba and her family. They fled Mosul after Iraqi forces, backed by coalition airstrikes, pushed ISIS from their neighborhood. They still have 2 sisters and 3 brothers in Mosul, so they covered their faces to protect them from retribution. Public torture and execution made routine under ISIS.
How did you explain this to your children? How did you try to protect them from this?
I didn't let them do anything. I even banned them from going to school. I didn't let them go outside. I would see torturing in the market, cutting off hands, cutting off a head. They used a lot of torture. But thank God, I didn't let the children see any of it.
Hiba became pregnant last year and entered a deep depression. She gave birth to baby Karim at home just over a month before we met, with her husband and sister by her side as coalition airstrikes thundered down.
It was the hardest day of my life. I was so scared and confused. But God made it easy for me and I gave birth. The houses were being bombed and I was so scared.
Are you afraid of the life that he's been brought into?
I'm worried about the weather and the cold temperatures here. Of course I'm afraid for him, for so many reasons.
Aid organizations expected more people at camps like these, but for a much shorter time. As the battle for Mosul continues to grind on with no end in sight, those fleeing the battle continue to arrive in droves. And it doesn't look like they're going anywhere anytime soon. Maulid Warfa heads operations at UNICEF in Erbil, which runs the child-friendly space. He says his main concern is the duration of the battle and the fact that the camps were set up as emergency measures without proper schools in the plans.
What worries me the most is to have these children roaming around with no proper schooling, with no proper protection, with losing their future. Imagine if these were your children, what do you want your children to be?